Hi, it's Kai, and today we have a Talking My Trash video, which is what I call my empties videos on here. I think I'm going to start doing them a little bit more often. Number one, to prevent too much clutter from building up from month to month or for too long at a time, because if you've seen my previous videos on literally any of my social media channels, you would know what I am dealing with. But we're not going to talk about it in this video because I just want to take a little bit of a reprieve from thinking about all of that mess. So we are going to do empties a little bit more often, but I also have so many empties this month. I actually could not fit everything in this box or container or whatever it's called. So this is going to be quite a long video. Go ahead and get yourself something to drink or snack on. Let me know what you're drinking or snacking on in the comments, and let's just stop the chatter and get into it. We can talk about some of the more boring laundry products that I talk about in pretty much every single empties video, and if you want any more information about them, then of course you can go through my empties playlist and see, you know, what I've talked about it before. But Lysol laundry sanitizer, this is the fresh, or no, this is the sport scent, the tough odor eliminator. It looks like it has like sport clothing on it, you know. I like this along with the other Lysol sanitizers, especially for towels. I'll continue purchasing this. However, I did see Audubon, and I know that Audubon is a disinfectant and like a sanitizer. You can use it for those purposes, and I was not aware that it could be used in laundry until I was digging a little bit deeper, aka being on Laundry Talk. And I mean all sides of Laundry Talk, the ones who give care instructions, the people who do the overloads with all of the sponge squeezes and stuff like that, the people who are just like washing their clothes like you're looking at a cycle, the restocks. Like, I think you guys can tell, especially by how many laundry products I have in each of these videos, that I really like laundry. I actually did a TikTok rather recently about how my love of fragrance probably stemmed from my love of laundry products. If I can remember, I'll link it in the description box in case you're interested in it, because it just gives a little bit of like myself and how I fell in love with fragrance. But anyway, as I was saying, I was over on that side of TikTok and I saw that Audubon, in addition to Pine Sol, actually, like the original Pine Sol formula, that it can be used in laundry to sanitize. So with Audubon specifically, the reason that I want to get it is because I actually played softball with the owner's daughter, and I was just kind of like, you know what? I want to start supporting smaller brands. They're not small by any means, but it was just one of those things that kind of triggered in my mind when I saw it on the shelf, and I was like, maybe next time I need a laundry sanitizer, I'll try that. So I'll probably purchase this at some point, especially if I have some coupons and stuff, but I think I want to try Audubon. Moving along, I have 2 tubs of OxiClean. The first one is just the regular one, or it's called the Versatile Stain Remover. Honestly, they do the exact same thing. The regular one with the yellow packaging just has more of that classic like crisp clean scent. It's not really a clean laundry scent, but it kind of is almost just like a really clean, almost minerally type of scent. If you've smelled OxiClean, you know what it smells like. But then the odor blasters, which are the ones that I personally prefer just because I like to make sure that all of my clothes are nice and fresh and clean and don't have mustiness. And also with my skate classes I've been going to, I've been sweating a lot. So especially my more athletic clothes that I'm wearing, and sometimes I even skate in my regular clothes too, so those clothes I feel like just need a little bit more love. This one also has a fresh scent, but there's also this kind of like florally-ish type of scent going along with it. Either way, I always like to have OxiClean on hand. I have another one currently that I am using. I think I've said before that I usually try to get the big box of it, but I've recently been seeing at my local Kroger's more buy one get one free, so I was just like, it's about the same size and I would be able to get it for cheaper than the big boxes. So I'm just like, I will go ahead and do that. The good thing about recessions is that the sales start popping. We start seeing buy one get one free even on regular everyday items. The bad part about it is that no one really has money to spend on them. Moving along, next we have the detergent that I had been using for like the past few months. I don't even know how long long laundry detergent lasts me, but it's definitely always over like 2 months, long enough that I forget it. Anyway, I decided to try the Tide Plus Ultra Oxy. I hadn't tried this before, and admittedly, I thought this was the Sport Oxy because I liked the way that that smelled. I remember that was the laundry detergent that my ex actually really liked, and I always loved the way that their laundry smelled, if I am being completely honest. And that was something, like, after we broke up, I had to take a step back from using the Tide Sport one because I was like, oh, it smells too much like them, and I just don't want those memories. But now I feel like I'm separated enough from that situation. It's literally been years, and it's just like I have no reaction to it anymore except, oh, that smells really good. So I thought that's what this was, and I picked it up off the shelf without really sniffing it, and then I got home and started using it. And it's not that this is bad necessarily. It does have like a classic clean kind of Tide Fresh scent, but there's something in there that has an undertone of ginger ale to me, and that was what was a little bit off-putting. So I don't think I would purchase this particular scent again. It is, however, really good at taking stains out of my towels, especially the ones that I use to clean off my makeup brushes and my reusable makeup remover towels and things of that nature. So I liked it for that reason, and Tide in general is one of the best working detergents as far as getting rid of stains. I would just recommend other scents of this or other types, and probably won't purchase this. I actually went back to Ariel, which is allegedly just the Hispanic or like Latin American version of Tide, but honestly it smells just 10 million times better than this one especially. So I have gone back to that one for the time being. But someone did ask me to do a laundry breakdown video, like going over my favorite laundry products and scents and stuff like that, and I have spreadsheets going for it. However, I wanted to see which types of laundry detergents you guys wanted to see, or laundry products in general. I personally don't do fabric softener. I don't really like fabric softener, so unfortunately we're going to exclude that category. But all of the other categories, scent beads, liquid laundry detergent, powder laundry detergent. I'm not even a super big fan of pods, but I'll even try the pods if so many people want to see that. But let me know which laundry detergents you want to see included in that. Speaking of fabric softener, I bought these Downy Comfy Cozy Plus scent beads, or at least I thought that they were scent beads, and I do feel as though Downy should do a better job of differentiating them, or it should be P&G rather, because that's who Downy is under, or the parent company that Downy is under. It has on there in like the tiniest little lettering that it is an in-wash softening booster. So this is not the same thing as the regular scent beads. The regular scent beads just have like the perfume and a like little bead waxy like base or whatever that is going to dissolve. I personally don't like using fabric softener for myself. I feel like it just kind of makes some of my clothes, especially with towels, it's going to make less absorbent. So you definitely don't want to use fabric softening products on those. You don't want to use them on like your kids' sleepwear and stuff like that, because it can increase the flammability of your clothing. And just in general, that's something that I'm not into. Like, I don't want to increase the chance that my clothing combusts, even if that chance is already small in the first place. And additionally, fabric softeners, or specifically the overuse of them, can not only gunk up your machine, but also gunk up your clothes and cause them to have a little bit of a waxy kind of coating. It can eventually cause the smells to kind of set in and really not escape and get out of the clothing, and so they smell musty and stuff like that. So those are all the reasons that I personally don't like fabric softeners, but I like scent boosters. And with these, the Downy Comfy Cozy line, this is a line where they are merging the two. Again, I just wish that was a little bit more apparent, because I had bought this on a buy one get one free type of deal, and I definitely would have gotten another scent. I wanted to try that went all the way under my dresser, and I'm not dealing with that. If I wanted something that had both fragrance and fabric softening type of properties, I would just get traditional fabric softener. I wouldn't get that, you know. But again, if I had known that that had the softening as well, I probably would have just gone with another scent that I liked more. Like I was saying before I dropped that, I purchased it because I had never tried that scent before and I wanted to try it. And it's like a nice kind of more alpine type of ocean scent or marine-ish scent, like maybe more on the driftwoody side. It smells good and I do feel like it lasts pretty well on the clothes, but I don't know if that's because there's the softening being left behind on them and that's increasing how much scent is being attached to the clothes. So I do like the scent of those. I would purchase it if it was not with the softening. I think they do have that scent or a similar one in their light formulation, but I'm going to be honest, if I'm going to be adding laundry fragrance into my laundry, I don't want it to be light. I want it to be noticeable, especially since a lot of the fragrance will dissipate as your clothes are going through the dryer. So again, like the fragrance, won't repurchase. I actually have, again, another one that I'm working through, and the way that I'm working through it is by adding a pinch of my regular scent beads and then a pinch of those so that it's kind of half and half and cutting the softening effects and just not being too much with each load. And honestly, doing the different scent bead combinations does make me feel like I'm, you know, doing different scent or fragrance, you know, perfume combos and stuff. So that's really fun too. The other one that I have that I like because it is just the InWash scent booster is the Gain scent booster. And this is the Tango line of them, which I had never seen before. It's relatively new. They had this scent, which is strawberry and shea. And then they also had a pineapple scent, which I'm not done with that one yet. And the reason that I finished this one quicker is actually because I didn't like this one as much as the pineapple ones. And that is because it honestly kind of just smells like the pre-existing, slightly fruity and a little bit floral and slightly maybe kind of like vanilla-y or sweet rather. I wouldn't even say vanilla particularly because it's more of like a shea type of sweetness mixed with the fruitiness, but I feel like this just smells too similar to the Downy Lush scent of the scent beads. And again, since P&G distributes both Gain and Tide and Downy and like all of, you know, those branches, it's just kind of like, it feels like you're repackaging another product in order to do a limited run of something and kind of capitalize on that. Oh, it's limited edition. I might, or it's brand new. I've never seen this one before, when it kind of smells very similar. I would say the Lush one maybe leans a little bit more floral and this leans a little bit more fruity. So if that is, you know, a differentiating factor for you, then you might like one more than the other. But honestly, once it's all said and done, when the clothes run through the dryer, it's pretty much the same type of scent. And honestly, I feel like this one doesn't last through the dryer quite as well, especially not as well as the pineapple ones that I have. So probably wouldn't purchase this scent, but I wouldn't write off these. If I saw more of these, I would be inclined to try them. Another laundry product I've talked about quite a bit, this is the Downy Rinse and Refresh in the Cool Cotton scent, which kind of has a crisp, almost kind of like pear and laundry scent. It smells really good, but honestly, the only difference between this and a fabric sanitizer is that this doesn't sanitize your laundry or disinfect your laundry at all. So honestly, it's kind of one of those things where I like it. It adds a little bit of fragrance, it adds a little bit of pizzazz, and I do feel like it helps kind of strip my clothes of any residue or things like that. However, it's not one that I consistently purchase anymore because I kind of just oscillate between being like, oh, I have a coupon for one of these, I'll go ahead and pick it up, and just saying I can use my Lysol or whichever laundry sanitizer product I currently have in my arsenal for everything. So it's a nice product to have, not necessary. I've also talked a lot about these Arm & Hammer Clean Sensations Cool Woods InWash Scent Boosters. I really like the way they smell. They're almost like Irish Spring, but a little bit more floral and powdery. However, more and more I've been noticing noticing that these do not last through the dryer, and I don't know if there's been a change in the formula recently or what's going on. I feel like even sometimes I'll just put a lot of them, 2 or 3 capfuls full, which is a lot in my opinion, and I'm still not able to really smell that scent in the dryer. So for now, I think I'm going to take a back seat on these. Maybe I'll revisit them in a few months or so and see if it was just a bad batch, a bad couple of batches, or maybe they had changed the formula due to supply chain issues or whatever the case may be, and then we're able to change it back. I don't know. All I know is that I don't love it quite as much. So I haven't in the past always included my little, what are these called? Febreze plugs, but I figured I should include them because they are a scented product. This is the limited edition Luxe plug, and it has the scents. I actually don't know what the scents were in here. I will have to look them up, but there was one that was more floral, one that was a little bit more fruity, and one that was more peachy. Not peachy, beachy. And I really like this, but really the reason I got this is because I liked the one that smelled a little bit more floral and clean, and it smelled like this one that was in one of my pet sitting clients' houses. They said that their wife uses these, and I didn't see any of the plugs in there, but as I was like texting them saying, hey, I locked everything up, everything's fine, I told them, I was like, I really have to compliment the fact that your house smells amazing. And he was like, yeah, it was my wife. She got these Febreze plugins. I asked what it was. I was like, what is it? Because I thought maybe it was some scent that I hadn't gotten before. And the more florally one smelled similar to what was in their house. So I picked up this pack, and admittedly, I do like the more florally one out of all of them. So I'm hoping I'm able to find it separately in a pack where they come out with a scent that's very similar at some point, because again, I really do like the way that the floral one smells, but it's not my favorite like triple pack at all. I personally like the triple pack that has the Downy April Fresh, the original Gain scent, and then the linen, what is it, linen and sky fragrance. That's my favorite, but I feel like that is pretty, you know, on the nose for me personally. I believe these are the last two kind of cleaning products. The first one is the Arm & Hammer Extra Strength Carpet Odor Eliminator, and I've been using this particularly to when I've had to spray the pests that have been invading my space and my life and my brain. When I've sprayed them and they've been on the carpet, I have wanted to like soak up the wetness because I've had to spray so much on them that it like makes a really wet spot in the carpet. So this is what I have been using just to kind of like soak up some of the liquid, and it's really helpful. There was a time where I wish I had taken a picture of it where it really did just clump up, almost like using cat litter, you know what I'm saying? So I also do like this for the scent. It has like a really nice fresh floral scent. It's a little bit on the powdery side. However, it's not something that I like to use every single time I vacuum because it does leave behind a quite noticeable scent, and it's a scent that smells good, but sometimes I'm just like, whoa, this is a little bit overwhelming. It's a little bit much, or I'm just like, okay, I'm over it. I want to be able to smell my wall plug-in and not this. So again, I like it. It would be especially good if you have pets and such. And speaking of pets, the other one that I use is the Arm & Hammer Double Duty Litter Deodorizer, and I like using this to do a little sheet whenever I change out their litter because I use the wood pellets, but I don't have a sifting litter box. So to keep everything from clumping and sticking to the bottom, I just do a layer of this, and it helps absorb the pee, poop, and all the moisture from those items, those bodily functions, so that when I go to clean the litter box, it goes smoothly into the trash bag and I don't have to worry about sitting there and scraping and like having to do the extra, and it won't keep the, I guess, smells seeping into the litter box, you know? But also this, along with pine pellets, I feel like makes my apartment one of those where people genuinely tell me that they wouldn't know I had cats unless they saw them or saw the litter box, or unless they pooped immediately before someone came in. So if you're a person who feels like the litter in your house might be a little bit fragrant, it might be worth trying something like this out. Okie okie, and we have the last of the actual cleaning products. The first is a hand soap. This is the Perscriptions Fresh Linen Foaming Hand Soap, and I've had this for so long. I bought this when I moved into this apartment about 3 years ago. I remember the exact day that I went and got it. Me and my friend had gone to a little meet and greet for a brand that was launching a fragrance in this local perfume shop called Indie House. And afterwards, since it was in a different area than where we usually kind of frequented, we were like, oh, let's go to the Target, let's go to the TJ Maxx in this area. And I found this at TJ Maxx. It is a fresh linen scent. Of course, it is a fresh linen scent, and it smells like just that. It's one of those classic clean, fresh. If you've tried the Cool Cotton scent from Bath and Body Works, it smells basically exactly like that. It's a foaming hand soap, which is nice. However, the scent was a little bit lighter than what I would like. I don't like my hand soaps to be so fragrant that they overpower my fragrance or I can smell them like from too far away. But I do want them to have enough fragrance to leave behind just like a little bit of something on my hands. I don't want my hands to smell like nothing, you know what I'm saying? And maybe that's just me being particular. Anyway, I liked this. Probably not enough to repurchase this even if I did see it in TJ Maxx again, but honestly I don't go to TJ Maxx a lot. Once I started really watching my consumption, I just got less and less pleasure from going to stores like TJ Maxx and Marshalls and Five Below and places like that and buying up a whole bunch of stuff. And I've just been a lot more on, okay, I want to declutter things in my life. I want to figure out and curate things that I enjoy. And especially because I'm probably going to be moving in sometime in the foreseeable future between now and the end of the year. Where that's going to fall, I don't yet know, but I'm just trying to be a little bit more mindful of what I'm bringing in, what I like, what I'm passing on to others if I don't enjoy it, you know, things like that. So a little bit of a monologue for a hand soap, but it's okay. If you see it, I would say maybe try it and sniff it and see if you like it, if you like foaming hand soaps. But if you don't need hand soap, then you probably don't need to sniff it or anything. The last cleaning product is, of course, my Florida water. I love Florida water. I use it in a lot of different ways. It's one of those where I say, if you know, you know, if you don't, you don't. But I've actually been dabbling in making my own Florida water, so I don't know if I will be repurchasing this anytime soon. Some more home care fragrance. I am now a Le Monde Gourmand affiliate, shameless plug, but because of that, they let me pick out some items for a little introductory gift, and so I picked out some of their candles because I hadn't tried them before. And number one, I love the vessels. The vessels were designed to be able to be used or like reused, and of course you can reuse any candle vessel or most candle vessels, but particularly they were made to look like little glasses, so it looks like I have this little matching set of different colored glasses, and I really like that actually, especially because my cat is one who likes to really get into things, and she actually just broke one of my glasses. It's always good to have some of these on hand, so I will be keeping these once I scoop out all of the wax in them. And while I liked them, I also wouldn't say that they were my favorite candles in the world. First of all, I don't know if any of them have a name, and I do think these are discontinued anyway. I don't know if they're planning on bringing them back or doing any more candles, but I know that these in particular were discontinued. But this was one that is a mango one, and it's just kind of a fresh, kind of generic floral fruity mango. And then this pink one I think was like maybe guava something, I really don't remember, but again, it was another one that was just kind of like a fruity floral, not necessarily anything that was knocking my socks off. And this one was supposed to be a tomato one, and again, like the other ones, it pulls a little bit floral. I wish I got a little bit more of the earthy greenness of the tomato leaf, but I would say that this was my favorite of the three of them because it was a little bit different. So again, review probably doesn't matter, at least not right now, because I believe these are discontinued for the time being. But again, I personally like a candle can be a candle. It's like you can like the candle for the ambiance, or some people people want their candles to not have as intense of a throw. I feel like those just didn't have as intense of a throw as I personally like, but it would be good for someone who maybe wants to burn candles or dabble into them. I think there's soy wax too. Maybe not. Maybe I'm lying because it says wax blend. I don't know. However, it could be good again for people who are a little bit more sensitive to fragrance but want a little bit of something in their space. Last non-body fragrance type of item, this is the C&E Candle Co., which I've talked about a few of these already. I know I'm holding it basically by the end, but it's because the little string has the oil on it, like it gets some of the oil on it, and that's going to get on my hands, and I don't want it on my hands. But I like these C&E little card diffusers overall. However, I'm not a fan of this scent. It was just a little bit too light for me. I feel like I could barely smell it the whole time that I had it. It wasn't one of those things where it was just at the beginning or just at the end, but it's like if I put my nose up to it really close, I could smell it, but in my car, it just didn't seem like it was really diffusing that far in the car. And this is the one that I've been using since the spring, I think. So it's been pretty hot here, and I feel like it should have diffused through my car. And it's like, you see that there's not really any oil left, but it just doesn't really smell like much. It does have that kind of, again, driftwoody kind of marine-ish scent, similar to the type of scent that was in the Ocean Mist, but the Ocean Mist is a little bit more sharp. This almost smells a little bit more of like a creamy driftwood. Either way, I would recommend the card diffusers overall, but that is the one that I would recommend the least. I liked the fresh cotton one, or maybe it was fresh linen, or maybe fresh laundry. You guys know it was probably something within that type of realm. And I also liked the vanilla in lavender. That one was nice, especially for one that had lavender in it, because lavender can be a little bit touch and go with me. But that one I would say stay away from, unless again you like something that has a lighter scent. Maybe that one would smell more intense to you, or at least would be enough to smell up your car, but for me it wasn't. Okie dokie, we're finally into the more personal care products. The first personal care product I have are pads, and these are the Rael Organic Cotton Cover Pads with Leak Locker. This is their regular, I guess, I was about to say intensity, but regular absorbency. So according to their little thing on here, it's, you know, the second lightest of all of the flow. However, I didn't find myself leaking a lot with this one, and I don't know if it's just the way that the pad is shaped. It is shaped so that the back, and you can kind of see it better on some of the bigger, you know, images, but all of them kind of have the shape where it's a little bit more flared in the back. So I find that that's really good for kind of catching the ones that go up your butt crack, if you know what I'm saying. If you've had a period, you've experienced it, unless you're a person who's had a little, you know, red Skittles worth of blood on your period. In that case, I hate you, and like, how does it feel to be God's favorite? Anyway, these are really good. I like them. They're really soft too, and they're absorbent, and I find that they feel dry even when there's just been a gush. So these are one of my more favorite, you know, types of pads, and they're so good that I actually reached back out to them because they sent me this box. They have reached out to me asking if I wanted restocks of anything, and I was like, you know, the skincare is good and all, but if you could send some of the pads over my way, that's what I would be into. So yeah, I really enjoy these. I would recommend you checking them out, especially if you find pads to be a little bit scratchy or irritating. I also finished these bandages from Tower 28 that I had gotten in PR. Honestly, I got them quite a while ago. I think when they had launched their sensitive skin, I want to say it was the serum, which honestly wasn't my favorite thing. I used to be on PR for Tower 28, and then I don't really know what happened. I guess I started posting less on my Instagram, and they were like, deuces. But yeah, these are cool. I personally like, and I wanted to include this in particular because I really like when brands put functional PR, and I feel as though more and more brands are putting more functional PR into their packages instead of just sending you like the full line of everything that they have. They'll send whichever flavors, whichever colors, well, in some instances flavors for different types of creators, but they'll send the ones that most match your skin tone or your interests or whatever the thing is. And then they've started adding things that again are more functional. These were really helpful because I've been getting scratched up not only by my cats, but also just from falling. I was at pet sitting, and because of this, there is now footage of me trying to run away from a yellow jacket and literally just falling and scraping up my knee and everything. So again, functional PR, very helpful. Even EOS with their most recent launch of the pistachio lotion, they did ice cream and I absolutely loved it. And I also hated it at the same time because of the fact that now I can't get that ice cream because it's only in New York. Like, it's a New York based company. And from what I saw, it's not like they're in store or anything. I feel like someone needs to blow up their spot the way that Ginny's has blown up. That was some of the best ice cream I've had. I even told my older sister that I was going to save a singular bite for like an emergency, and I still have 2 bites of each of the flavors in there except the pistachio. I gave that to a friend because I'm allergic to pistachios. Anyway, that was a really long, aside about more brands put functional PR in your packages. Tom's of Maine whole care toothpaste, always a repurchase. I actually tried a different Tom's of Maine this time, so stay tuned next month for me not just skipping by this because I use this all the time, but this is my favorite brand. I like the way that it smells and tastes and the texture of it, and I'm not going to stray from it because I don't like changing from things that I know I like. This isn't an empty, but I went to use it and it was definitely expired, and understandably so. It's been a few years. I'm pretty sure this has gone to more than just one new apartment for me, but this is the Vaseline Cocoa Shimmer Jelly Stick. If I'm being honest, the shimmer in here was so subtle that you might as well have just used regular Vaseline, because that's essentially what this was a Vaseline stick that had a little bit of a golden shimmer in it. And I felt like the golden shimmer just wasn't enough for what I would want when I'm looking to kind of highlight my collarbones. So again, one that didn't really get used much after I used it the initial few times after I received it. And, it went to waste, but now I'm just going to throw it out because I don't need to keep holding on to things that are, old and can't be used. Then I have my favorite gimmick of all time, but it's one that I will stand by. It's the Touchland hand sanitizers. They're expensive. Should a hand sanitizer be anywhere between $10 to $16? Probably not, but am I going to continue purchasing them? Absolutely. This one, the Glow Mist, has kind of a rose water scent to it, and it is a very like floral rose. It's a little bit dewy and green, not really powdery necessarily, but it's definitely rose. So if you don't like rose, you're not going to want this, because this one is actually really scented. It's not the one I would go toward if you don't like your hand sanitizers to be scented or just want the scent to be an experience while you're rubbing it out, because the scent will last on your hands with this one in particular. If you do want one that is a little bit more subtle, the aloe one, outside of the unscented, but the aloe one has a little bit of scent, but it's not super strong. I recently repurchased this, but in the Lily of the Valley scent. Again, very strong floral type of scent. So that one is also not the one you're going to want if you don't like more intense scents. But anyway, I really like these. I've already repurchased them and I will continue to repurchase them personally. I don't finish up much hair care for very obvious reason. This is actually a little longer than what I usually like my hair to be, but I'm going to my, what is that called? My grad school's like alumni night. So I wanted to get my hair cut closer to that. So it was a fresh haircut. I now understand how men crash out when their hair, like, I know women do it too, guys as well. At first I was like, oh, there's no hair to really crash out over, but like I understand why guys feel a certain way if they don't have their haircut done before the event, even if it's seem short, this doesn't, I feel like, look bad or look different. But for me, I'm just like, why can I not see my scalp completely? So I don't finish a lot of hair care products, but I did finish this Dark and Lovely Blowout Heat Shield Primer Mist. And again, didn't really need this for the heat protectant properties. I mainly just use this as a kind of water-based moisturizer, because the first ingredient in here actually is water, and then there's coconut oil as a second ingredient. So it kind of has some hydrating properties, and my scalp gets really dry really easily, and it's been like that forever, but especially since I've been bald, I guess I just notice it a lot more. So I like to go in this to start off with, because sometimes I feel like just using the leave-in conditioner or curl cream or whatever hair product that is supposed to be moisturizing to my hair doesn't really do everything that I need it to. So I used this. It was nice and lightweight. It wasn't something that I felt like weighed my hair down. Again, not much to necessarily weigh down, but sometimes it can feel really heavy and greasy and just look like too much, you know? A product that I would not repurchase because I don't think it's necessary. I just used it because I had it. But if you're looking for a heat protectant, I couldn't tell you whether it was a good one or not because I didn't use it for heat protectant purposes. The Cocoa Kind Revitalizing Eye Cream was in my project pan, but unfortunately I have to say goodbye to this one because it's starting to smell funky. I went to go use it and it just smells off. It doesn't smell like it's supposed to. So I figured it would be better for me to just call it quits, even if I did not technically get to finish it for my project pan. But I did use it a few times before it went completely off. And it's a nice eye cream. I'm just a person who feels like eye cream isn't necessary when you have a really good moisturizer, and I have really good moisturizers that I like, so I don't feel like, at least not at my current age, that I need an eye cream. If I do need something more hydrating or like a eye cream, eye specific product, I could see myself going towards this. I think they did launch one with retinol in it, or retin-A, whichever one is more gentle. And while that's not something that I particularly need for my skin needs right now, it might be of interest to some people who are interested in those ingredients. So that's that on that. Then I finished the Bioma Clarifying Serum. This has triceramide complex, blue tansy, and PHA and zinc. And blue tansy, PHA, and zinc are actually things that are really good, or that I found work pretty good for my herpes outbreaks. I actually don't really like this on my face, like for my acne. I felt like it just wasn't enough for me. I felt like I wasn't really seeing enough results, but it is gentle enough for something like my outbreak. So when I'm having one, I will put this on it, and it kind of helps either bring it to a head or it helps it, you know, shrink, because those are the two ways that an outbreak can go. So yeah, I wouldn't repurchase this. Used it because I had it and found an alternative way to use it, but it wasn't my favorite clarifying or exfoliating serum. And I just feel like there are better ones, or just better products for that purpose in general outside of that one. I got up to check the time and realized I forgot a lifestyle or like more laundry-ish product. This is one of those Lysol to go disinfectant sprays. It's just the classic crisp linen scent. And I originally purchased this 2 years ago when I went to Nashville for a work trip, because I am a person who has to like spray down what I have OCD, and not in the way that people try to make OCD quirky and fun. I mean that I think of contamination and question my morality almost every single second of every single day. And again, not in the fun, quirky way. So I do get this. I just got it because I was taking a flight and I wanted to make sure I had something that was small enough. I at first was just like, oh, for the price, go get a big can of it. But again, I didn't want that to get taken. So I got the to-go version, used it for its purposes. And when I got home, there was still a little bit of it left. So I have been using this most recently for like my shoes, especially my Crocs, because those are the ones that I mainly use for pet sitting. And of course, with pet sitting and particularly dog walking, I feel like it's become an epidemic for people to just not pick up their dog's poop. And I've even seen people have their dog poop. Well, they didn't have their dog, but their dog pooped in the middle of a bikeway or walkway or the middle of the street and they've left it there. So I do like, after I've been able to like wipe them off, if I don't want to put them in my washing machine and do a full wash of them, I just like to spray them down with this. So it's regular Lysol. It does what it's supposed to do. Then we've got the two Le Monde Gourmand body oils. There's Lait de Coco and Creme Vanille, and I really like these. These are some of my favorite products from Le Monde Gourmand, honestly. It's just a body oil that makes your skin feel really nice and soft without being greasy. So Creme Vanille is more of a floral vanilla type of scent, very nice and kind of goes with everything type of body oil. I really like this for, like I said, layering with pretty much any scent. And then Lait de Coco is one of those more clean, fresh, watery coconut scents. So it's really good for when you want a lighter, not as heady and like in your face type of coconut. I really like these. They were sent to me. I'm hoping more get sent to me, but honestly, I don't need more like right this minute because I have so many Bandaids products that I'm trying to get through, and I'm really trying to get through a good amount of them so that I don't have to take them to another apartment whenever I do move. Kind of in line with wanting to finish things up, I've kind of had more of a one in, one out with my body washes, kind of also because that's been a hot spot. Like my bathroom had been a hot spot for the activity of the insect issue that I was dealing with. So I've been trying to limit how much is in there and how much clutter is in there. So I was just like, I'm gonna take all of my bathroom products out and then bring my, what do you call it, a soap in one by one. This Cake Beauty one, the heavy cream shower wash, it's really nice. It has a nice gel texture, even though I will say it's a little bit liquidy for this packaging. I would recommend tilting it up and opening it upwards, because if you open it downwards, it definitely like spills the product out and it'll gunk up in the cap. But as you see, it's liquidy enough that you can kind of get in there and, you know, get the product out. It does have a nice smooth buttery feeling. It foams up really well. A little bit goes a long way, and it has this nice cake scent, but it's a cakey yogurt type of scent. I've said it before on other channels, but I feel like it smells like those as seen on TV little molds for making cakes that have the yogurt or ice cream inside of them. And if you are a 2000s kid or a 90s kid who grew up in the 2000s and saw the as seen on TV a lot, you know what I'm talking about. This smells like the vanilla one with the white frosting in the middle that they showed, and it's nostalgic without me having ever been in that studio and smelling that particular. I don't even think I've ever had a yogurt cake, so I really like the smell of this one. If you like something like EOS Vanilla Cashmere but want it to be a little bit less dense, cakey sweet, you might like this one a little bit better. Then we've got the IT Cosmetics Confidence in a Cream Transforming Moisturizing Super Cream, which is the Anti-Aging Armor Rejuvenating Concentrate version. I had gotten this sent to me, and honestly, it was good. I wouldn't say it was necessarily outstanding or the best moisturizer ever, or a moisturizer that is, you know, going to beat out every other one that I use, especially for the price. But I can't say that it broke me out. I can't say that my skin didn't feel nice and moisturized when I wore it. And I just really can't say that I had any gripes with the moisturizer itself. I don't necessarily need anti-aging products, and do I think this anti-aged me? No, because I'm only 28 fucking years old. So I, again, look it like I don't need the anti-aging stuff. And honestly, does anyone need the anti-aging stuff? Might shake the table, but I think there is beauty in aging gracefully and being okay with that. You really feel like a beauty influencer when you have to switch out your mic because you've been talking so long. What was I saying about this? Anti-aging. I believe aging is beautiful. As I was about to say, I celebrated my grandfather's 91st birthday recently, and every time I see him, I realize how much I am going to age like him and it just makes me feel really wonderful. Like my eye shape has really changed over the last 10 years. I've had to kind of relearn how I like to do my makeup. And when I looked at his eyes, I was like, they're turning into his eyes. Like I'm getting crow's feet in the same places he's getting crow's feet. I just thought there was something so beautiful about that I look exactly like my mom. Like I'm a carbon copy of what my mom looked like when she was younger, at least according to all of my family members. You know, I act a lot like her too, so I'm sure that adds to it. But it's like I'm looking like her dad as well, and getting to see those even aging things that are being passed down from my grandparents. It's not something that I necessarily want to erase. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll feel differently in, you know, another 10 years when I'm 38 years old. But right now, I absolutely love that I am aging to look like my grandparents and my parents. It's lovely. So maybe that's a little bit more of the energy we need to have, especially as influencers. And I want to make sure that I am always living and showing my morals and values to other people, because I feel like there's a really big subset of people who maybe do not care about anti-aging, but feel like they should because it's the thing. Anyway, moving along, I had this sample of the NYX Pore Filler Primer. This is just kind of one of those basic silicone based primers, very similar to like the Smashbox, what is it, Photo Finish? It wasn't necessarily my favorite, but I do feel like it kind of smoothed out the center of my face, the texture of it, and then also gave me a little bit of mattification without feeling super drying. So it was okay. Probably wouldn't repurchase it though, because I don't really believe in primers and I'm just trying to use the ones that I have up. I think there is nothing a primer can do that a really good moisturizer can't, unless you're using one that is specifically for mattification of your face or specifically for trying to lock your makeup in. But then even a lot of that, I feel like it's about the formulas you use and setting spray or fixing, you know, that type of stuff. So primer maybe can contribute. I don't feel like it's the biggest factor. I also finished a Freck, which has been my favorite freckle tint for the longest time. I always get the XL, and I was reading this article recently that was talking about closures of brands, specifically minority owned, women owned, things of that nature. And they had included Ami Collet, which I feel like everyone at this point knows that they're shutting down. But I also saw them use Freck as the logo, and they mentioned them in the article, but they never specifically said anything about closing down. And I was like, I haven't seen anything about them closing down. Like, do people know something that I don't? So if you know something that I don't, please let me know. I know that this has been out of stock on Sephora's website for a while, and it might have even gone on sale in the past few months, but I just don't see any, like I haven't seen anything about them closing. And as my favorite freckle tint, it would be very disappointing if they did close. So if you have other freckle products you would like me to try out, or that you've been interested in, or that you already use and enjoy, please let me know, because I might have to replace my favorite. In particular, I just liked the brush aspect of it. The formula is great too, because I feel like the shade isn't too warm and isn't too cool. It's like a good shade for my skin tone, and is also really easy to do the pickup and transfer and smudging them out a little bit, or making them a little lighter, more natural looking by using, again, your finger or a sponge or something like that. I just really like this product, but I like the component and like the shape of the brush. There's actually another freckle product that I'm trying to finish up, and I was wondering if I could maybe depot it into this and use this for it, because maybe I would use it up a little bit quicker if I was able to have it in this form. So to be continued on that one. I actually finished two freckle products. This is the Revolution by Makeup Revolution freckle pen, and this I don't believe exists anymore. I'm pretty sure it's discontinued. It used to be at Walmart, and I wasn't the biggest fan of this personally. I find that these ones with the pen tips can kind of be a little bit harsh and don't give me as much variation in the size and shape of the freckles. And this one in particular, I felt like didn't really stamp or tap out. Like you had to put the freckle down and immediately start tapping it out, or else it would definitely be too dark. So I often use this underneath my makeup, at least underneath my bronzer, blush, and highlight, but sometimes even underneath my foundation or skin tint or, you know, just complexion completely. Even if this was available, I probably wouldn't purchase it again, but it did last a long time. It pretty much lasted until I forgot to click the cap completely shut and it dried out. So it was good for that reason, I guess. And then a very quick speed run through all of my fragrance empties if this doesn't clank too loudly, but I'll probably do more in depth on my short form platforms or in a shorter video. But again, I was kind of going along with the idea of wanting to finish some things up, especially things that were very close to being done and had only a few more uses or sprays. So I finished 3 of my Le Monde Gourmand little travel sizes. This is from their Bon Voyage or something, Le Monde, whatever it is. I forgot what it is. Everything is linked below if you are interested in what it is, but they have the little travel kit that comes with travel fragrances. I'm pretty sure I have all of these in a full size except Pistachio Brulee, which is fine because this is one of my lesser favorites. It's still a nice kind of warm, slightly fluffy vanilla and maybe a little bit nutty scent, but I don't feel like it leans as much into the nutty pistachio-ness, definitely more into the brulee-ness. And there's just other fragrances that are in the same category or same scent category even from them that I like better. So that's not one that I think would be on my repurchase list, but it is a fan favorite for a lot of people and I understand why. Then there is Macaron Rose, which is a very, I got some on my nose, but this is, like I was saying, Macaron Rose, and it's a very green, dewy type of rose fragrance. There's not a lot of sweetness in it. It's almost like pungent. It's so rosy. So if you don't like rose fragrances, you don't like floral fragrances, I could see people who don't like more vintage florals, especially because it kind of has that like very bright floraliness, and there's maybe even a little bit like just a touch of powderiness underlying this. I like it though. I do have a full size of it. It's not one that's in my necessarily everyday rotation, but it's one that I like to dabble with every once in a while. And then my favorite of these 3 that I finished is Miel Bébé. This is, I think, like a honey and caramel scent, and if you told me that this was a flanker or one of the Viva La Juicy perfumes, I would believe you because it honestly smells exactly like it belongs in that lineup. The honey doesn't lean medicinal, but it definitely adds a little bit of a kick of something different to the caramel that's in here. I really, again, like this one. Juicy Couture or Viva La Juicy by Juicy Couture, that line of fragrances are ones that, again, very nostalgic because I remember going into each of the department stores whenever my mom was in there and sniffing the fragrances, and I loved how sweet and caramelly while still having a little bit of almost a refinedness, at least to me as a little kid. So like I said, this kind of encapsulates that and makes me think of that. I went a little bit deeper than I wanted to into those. Next is Dawkins Aroma Vanilla Pearls, and this one I personally didn't like. It's really the first Dawkins Aroma scent that was a no for me, and it's not an absolute no. It's just that this is a vanilla that ends up smelling a little bit plasticky. Like it's supposed to be almost this fresh, clean, sweet, but slightly refined vanilla. But again, there's something kind of plasticky or sunscreeny and not necessarily in a way that I enjoy that comes out in this one. It does eventually subside on my skin, but again, I don't love it. So that's not one that I would think of repurchasing, but it's again, one that a lot of people like. I finished a sample of Damask House Driftwood Sunset, which is an indie brand, and this smells like Skittles or Starburst or Tang, like the orange flavor of those, like an orange Starburst or orange Tang packets or orange Kool-Aid, you know, that type of thing. I really like it. Another one that's really fun and kind of nostalgic for me. So I would want to pick up at least another sample, but probably at least a travel size of that one because it is such a cute little fragrance and it's fun. She's flirty. I like her. And then 2 more samples. One is Ariel Shoshana Tuesday, which is a mint jasmine tea guava wonder. But I really liked using this because as I've been pet sitting and dog walking, I haven't been wearing as much perfume just because I don't want to attract more bugs and mosquitoes to me especially. And I find that at least compared to not wearing any fragrance at all or wearing another type of fragrance, that this fragrance, because it has a prominent mint note and it kind of maybe comes off a little sunscreeny or bug sprayy, but I don't mind it. I kind of like it and don't feel like it's overwhelming. But I did notice myself with fewer bug bites. I still got bit and still got bit more than a traditional bug spray, but I feel like it was effective. So if you were planning to do outdoor activities but still wanted to wear a fragrance and didn't want to wear bug spray but was concerned about the bugs, specifically mosquitoes, this might provide you a little bit of protection from them. And then Juliet Has a Gun Sunny Side Up is a really beautiful sandalwood fragrance. It's one of those that is on the creamier side, and sandalwood is a fragrance note that can sometimes make me smell like pickles, and this doesn't do that. So it's one that if I wanted to pick up a full size of a sandalwood fragrance, I would. Sandalwood is just not my favorite fragrance note, and even as I start enjoying it more, it's never going to be my favorite fragrance note. So I have other sandalwood fragrances and samples and travel sizes, and that's good enough for me right now. We've got an empty empties bucket and an empty, what do you call it, perfume cup. I hope that video was enjoyable, even if it was very long and I was very verbose. I won't say too much for an outro, except I hope you're staying safe and healthy wherever you are when you're watching this, and I need to go get something to drink, so I'm gonna do that, and I will see you guys in the next one.